Awesome. Pleasure to welcome to the podcast. It's North Carolina's starting goalie, Betty Nelson. Betty, welcome to the show.
So grateful to be here. So happy.
Awesome. Well, I feel grateful that you're here as well. I always like to start the episode by hearing the first time you jumped into goal. Do you remember that?
I do. So it was on my like Pee Wee League lacrosse team. Our goalie, we used to rotate goalies when we were younger, and then one kid kind of stuck with it. And I was still playing midfield, and he quit lacrosse. He was like, "It's not for me," and they were like, "All right, we need a goalie." And at the time, my brother started playing goalie too. So I wanted to do everything that my brother did. I was like,
Right.
anything he can do, you know what? I want to do it too.
Right.
So I ended up hopping in net and I fell in love with it.
What did you like about it?
I mean, I mainly liked just being like able to make big moments. You know, being able to make a save and create momentum for my team. So that was always something that gave me that adrenaline, and I was like, I want more of that.
Yeah. Don't we all, right? Don't we all? And big moments you have made. Yeah, and hopefully there's a lot bigger moments to be made in the future as well. But yeah, that's the awesome part about being the goalie, right? Is just that save, that all the pressure's on us, everyone's looking at us, and then we come through, and that's such a sweet feeling.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I imagine then it was your brother that sort of taught you like the basics, like here's how you stand, here's how you hold the stick, like that type of stuff, or did you learn that elsewhere?
So him and I were starting at the same time, so we were kind of like learning together. Um, Something that we used to do was just watch highlight tapes on YouTube. John Galloway, we were in love with John Galloway.
Yeah.
Um, so just watching those highlight tapes. And then my youth coach played at Cornell, Dan Reed. He obviously wasn't a goalie, but he kind of knew, the basics. So he gave me that foundation.
Awesome. Yeah. Yeah, Galloway. What a great goalie to watch, huh?
Yeah.
Um, one of the things that's like very how do I say it? Very like trademark of John Galloway is that fire, right? That passion. Like he'll make a save and it's like, really getting into it. Would you say like that's a part of your game?
I think for me, like having that energy of like, I want to just explode to the ball, like all of my game, I want it to be very explosive. I think I have a pretty calm demeanor.
Hmm.
So, outside looking in, I don't seem very like fired up, but like inside, I'm very much like, I gotta attack the ball, I gotta go after it.
Got it. Yeah. So all that energy and passion goes into the save and then you sort of remain calm
Yeah.
on the exterior, which is great. Like so many goalies have success in that way. I mean, how do you think then that helps you succeed in the long run? Kind of having that calm demeanor.
I think something that like my defense has told me is they've been like, we look at you sometimes and you just seem very calm and like,
Mm.
when, things go wrong, the goalie is someone that people look to because, we're the last line of defense. And I think that they've told me like, it makes us calmer when we see you and you're not freaking out. So I think it's benefited me like leadership wise, just being like a calm force for our defense.
Yeah. Well, that's a great point. Even if you are more of an energetic goalie too, like you have to still like when things are going bad, you have to still carry yourself with like that positive body language, right? Because if your defense turns around and they see a goalie who's like losing it and yelling at himself or like throwing his stick or slumping his shoulders, they're like, oh my gosh, like our goalie's lost it. Like we're done.
Right. Yeah. No, it makes everyone else freak out. So
Yeah. All right, but even on the big plays, you stuff a girl up close, still like calm. Or do you ever give it something? Ever give it some little fire fist pump or something like that?
No, usually I don't. I mean, for me, it's like we make the save, we get it upfield, and
Yeah.
when we score is when I finally am like kind of like let it go, and I'm like, let's go, like that's
Right.
huge.
Right. Okay.
Yeah,
Love it.
it's not finished until we score.
I love it. I love it. All right. Um, Very cool. So watching Galloway, do you still watch other goalies or like when you were growing up, like or even to this day, and kind of who are some of the goalies you like to watch and things you've learned?
Um, since the beginning of college, I've been really interested in Brett Dobson's game.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
I watched the save edits you make like religiously of like Brett Dobson on the Archers and
Yeah.
back when he was in college. So I'll just constantly go in and watch him. I think that how calm he plays in the cage and how patient he is. I think that that's something that when I first got to college was something I really wanted to implement into my game.
Great pick. Great pick. Dobson's is incredible. And yeah, I love some of my favorite save edits are him at St. Bonaventure when, you got like the best goalie in the world like playing at college and in the MAC and like he was just dominating those games, like
Yeah,
17, 20 saves, 21 saves a game, and just really like, oh man, I love watching those. So yeah, that's awesome. And that's really cool how you picked a male goalie as well. I mean, it's very different in the games, but I think that like girls can learn a lot watching the guy goalies and vice versa too. Like I always tell guys who are like really short, and they're like looking for goalies that to model their game after. I'm like, you might find them on the girls' side because a lot of
yeah,
girls tend to be, not a lot, but some girls tend to be a lot shorter, and you can kind of see how they play, right?
yeah, absolutely. I
Yeah.
mean, I think growing up, I played boys lacrosse from kindergarten up until about sixth grade. So for me, I was always watching men's goalies.
Okay.
And it's kind of carried through. But I watch girls like watching La Liberty. I grew up playing on the same club team as Lauren Spence,
Nice.
Loyola, and so like I'll watch them too. But yeah, I think definitely you can watch any goalie and find something about them that I want to implement into my game, or just this is something they do well. Like it would be cool to see if I can try that out.
Totally. Yeah, 100% agree. Yeah, just those little things, right? Like the way they make that low save, the way like after a clear, like the way they exit out the back of the crease, the way
Right.
yeah, the way they were so patient on those, like waiting through all those fakes, and then at the last second, just little things that you can try and implement into your game.
Yeah.
So you played boys lacrosse growing up. Did the boys ever give you a little bit of crap for being the girl out there, and how do you handle that?
My teammates were always very protective of me. So there would be some teams that we would play that they'd be like, oh, the girl's the goalie, like this is gonna be so easy.
Right.
And they were very much like get out of her face. Like they were very protective of me. Um, and I was like, I got used to it. It was kind of like a chip on my shoulder. Like I'm the only girl here. Like, it's kind of cool to be in this position and prove people wrong. So I was just
Yeah.
always like to prove people wrong.
That's awesome. Yeah, I remember right when I graduated college, I coached a youth team, and we had a girl out there playing, and she was like one of the better players. But like, I made sure no one gave her any crap for that. So you got to, yeah, it's cool that your teammates were able to stick
Yeah.
up for you. Anything? Is that your phone? Could you hit that? Could you mute that?
Sorry about that. I didn't realize that I didn't have it on Do Not Disturb. Sorry about that.
No, all good. Someone's blowing you up over there.
It's our like my grades group chat.
Oh
It's
no, all good, all good. Um, what was I gonna say? Oh yeah, so what would you like? Would you say you learned a lot and like kind of modeled your game after Dobson in terms of the way that you made the saves, or you just kind of like watching him play?
I think obviously I love watching him play. He's insane.
Yeah,
But um one of my coaches, Coach Phil Barnes, he was like, what goalie do you like watching? And I was like, I love watching Brett Dobson. And he was like, all right, So we came in and we watched film on him, and we really like digested parts of his game that he was like, you should try to start implementing this stuff. So um, I really liked like one of the things that we focused on was like when he's taking far out shots, um, he sometimes will take a higher arc.
Mm,
And so I started implementing that. And for me, that wasn't like something that I really wanted to implement because I think that the boys' game, they do get a lot of shots from outside of, the 12-meter.
right.
Um, but what I took from that was how to play my angles, thinking about what picture do I want to create for the shooter. So that's something that I noticed that he was doing really well, that he was messing with his angles and trying to mess with the shooter. So
Right.
I was like, that's something that I can, take and think about when I'm practicing.
Love that. Yeah, love that. Yeah, in the girls' game, they don't see a lot of those outside shot, but there's certainly a lot of scenarios where I think it makes a lot of sense to come out and just sort of cut down that angle and almost in a sense like surprise the girl because a lot of times especially at the youth level like maybe there's a girl wide open on the crease and she's just gonna like catch it and turn and shoot
Yeah,
right and you see that feed coming in and then me as a goalie like I'm gonna come out and sort of get right in that girl's face
yeah,
so when she catches it and turns like guess who's there.
yeah. That's something that I've been messing with recently is um playing up on a higher arc on inside shots just
Mm,
because what you were saying is like you create such a smaller picture when you're up in their face. And
right.
so that's something that I've been messing around with a lot lately.
Love it. Love it. What else have you been working on in your game?
I think mainly just for me is patience. Um, I came into college and I was very jumpy. My my coach said that I was as patient as a cat.
Mm,
So I just was constantly like trying to jump around in people's faces, and it was kind of making me easy because when you get to college, it's like these girls are not just catching and shooting. They're looking at what you're doing and they're, faking around you, shooting around you. So when you jump up in their face, that's like a shooter's bread and butter. It's like,
right.
oh, she's out of position. Now I just shoot around her.
Right.
So, for me, it's constantly working on like, there is a time and place when you get up high and you get it in a shooter's face, but there's also a time where, you stay at home and you're patient and you just wait for them to release the shot. So that's really been a big thing that I've been working on.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing that a lot of goalies need to work on and a lot of goalies, like you said, they get so jumpy or like you get in your mind that like, all right, I need to attack this shot. And you
Yeah,
start sort of like falling forward a little bit. And then the shot comes and you're not like, I mean, you just kind of like go and you're not really like patient and seeing it and moving in the right direction. So how did you specifically work on that? Is it like some drills that you did, or is it just more of a mental thing of where like I'm gonna be patient, I'm gonna wait, see it, and kind of verbally reminding yourself?
it's definitely a mix of both. I think patience is mainly a mental thing, but I think that if you practice it with drills and practice it in like a controlled environment, something that I did was I did a drill where I would be on like a lower angle and a girl would be coming down the alley and I wouldn't be allowed to move my feet. Like I would have to make
Mm,
the save with just my hands, high or low,
hmm.
like it could be anywhere. And what that made me do was really focus on when the release is coming and trusting that your hands will get to the ball instead of jumping up and trying to get your body there and going too early. Because the minute that you get on too much on your toes and your weight gets too forward, that's when you lose that patience. So that
Yeah,
was one of the drills that Phil had me do.
awesome. Yeah, awesome. Yeah, that's a great drill. And then just yeah, like you said, that mindset of like, all right, like I'm I'm not going to be jumpy. I'm just going to wait and see it, and kind of repeating yourself, see it, or patience, or one of the verbal cues I like, or yeah, verbal cues I like to use is sit on it, like just wait and sit on it, and then go get it. All good stuff. So, all right, very cool. And then let's see. So when did you first then decide, I think I might be good enough to play Division 1 lacrosse?
I think for me, it really happened when I made the first national development team. Coming from Colorado, you know that you're not going to get very many looks. Just like historically, people on like my club team, on older teams, we they didn't get very many looks Division 1.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I made that U.S. team, and then my club coach kind of started getting some calls and getting some interest. And I was like, you know, it boosted my confidence so that like I believed that I could do it, and um, it made me more sure of myself. So going into like my recruiting summer, or my sophomore summer, and then my recruiting summer, it was like I could perform my best because I wasn't worried about it anymore because I knew it could happen.
Interesting. Interesting. Yeah. What do you say to a young goalie who is struggling with their confidence? Because I think a lot of that happens to a lot of goalies. Like you have a bad game or you're in a slump. How do you, I mean, you made the team, right? You made this great team, and that kind of gave you that shot of confidence. But what would you say to a young goalie struggling with confidence?
Yeah, I think the first thing that I would say to them is everyone struggles with confidence.
Hmm.
Even I do. The best goalies in the world, they all struggle with their confidence. But confidence is controllable. I think that's something that I didn't realize when I was younger. I thought it just came and went, but it's something that you gain, not only through external things, but also like internally working on it, and going through like evidence of like why should I be confident instead of just, thinking like, oh, confidence is, coming in through the wind. Like, no, it's like it's within you, and working on it and looking at evidence of like, you know, what are my strengths? What have I done well? You know, what are things that make me confident? What situations? What do I tell myself to make myself confident? So
Hmm.
I would just really tell them like, look, like it's all under your control. And like I know that makes me feel better because it's like if it's under my control, it's something I can work on, just like wall ball.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. Yeah, I mean, you make a list of your strengths and you kind of review those, but then like you also make a list of your weaknesses, and like you work on those, and like set goals to, make those your strengths. And that process builds confidence, because if I go like, all right, my clearing game is weak. Like I'm horrible at clearing the ball. And so like I got this goal to be like clear the ball at a certain percentage. I got this goal to play 20 minutes of wall ball a day. I got this goal to learn like two sick dodges, and I do all that, right? And now clearing is like a good part of my game. And now I just walk out there with this new level of confidence, because like I know how to clear, and I know how to, I become so much better. So I think that's, yeah,
and I mean it's the work that you put in that builds that foundation for confidence. Because if you know that
right,
you've been putting in the work, you know, there is that evidence. It's like, well, I've been working really hard and like I
right.
feel good about the work that I've been putting in. So
Right. It's
yeah,
like you've studied for the test, and then you've taken practice tests. And so now when like, and you've aced them. And so now when you walk in for the real test, like, trust that training, trust all that work that you've done,
yeah, exactly.
and go out there and dominate, right?
Yeah. Yes.
That's awesome. So what was this national team? Tell me about that experience and kind of how it sort of shaped you as a goalie. I mean, I know it gave you the confidence, but I'd love to hear a little bit more.
Yeah. So the U.S. national team started doing a development program my freshman year of high school,
Nice.
and they held these like regional tryouts. Um, and so then I went to the regional tryout in Denver, and then if you make it past that point, you go to a combine at the U.S. headquarters in Maryland. And then if you make that, you make the team and you go on to play in the Brogdon Cup, which is against Team Ontario. Um, so that for me, it just was such a great experience getting to come in and meet all of these new people who I'd never met before, and face a lot of East Coast shots
Mm,
because back, I mean, I think that the West Coast, this is not to like um, say that the West Coast is bad. I think that it's developing, but I think back when I was a freshman in high school, there was still a huge disparity
mm,
in the shots that you were seeing. So to be able to come out to Maryland and see the best of the best, even just in the tryout, like that to me, like it not only made me realize, here's what's out here. Like, now I have to think about my game and improve my game because I know that, East Coast shooters are really good.
right.
Um, but it also was just an opportunity to train with those shots and, you know, um, see them and play around with them. And it just was really a cool opportunity for me.
Yeah. When you start seeing the faster velocity shots, um, does that like change your goalie game at all, or are you just like I know how to make the saves. These shots are just coming in a little bit faster.
I think for me is I try to keep my game the same just because I feel like when you give more value to a certain shot,
Right.
it's like you start to think about it more, and then you're not really focusing on, saving the ball. You're focused on how hard the shot is
Yep.
versus, treating it like every other shot. Because I know on my team, we have some girls who can really whip it, like
Right. Right.
Olivia Pagano, Chloe Humphrey, Caroline Godin. Like sometimes I will be like, oh crap, like they've got, a really hard shot and they're coming at me really fast right now. Um, and then I like flinch, I freeze.
Right.
Versus when I'm like, a really hard like, a shot's coming, then you just go save it.
Right.
So
Doesn't matter who shot it, doesn't matter the velocity, right? Yeah, because once you start getting in your own head about, oh, this team's so good, they shoot so hard, and then all of a sudden, like you're not thinking about making
right,
those saves. Yeah,
yeah,
I like that. One of the questions that I struggled with, like if you're a goalie from Colorado, right, and you're sort of like the best, like how do I know where I stack nationally? Right? Like, how do I know, like, am I better than these Maryland goalies or not? Like, can I go play D1 or no? I mean, yeah, I'm the best in my hometown, but like maybe it's a small town. What do you
yeah.
think? What's your answer? How do you feel about that?
I think for me personally, it was like traveling to the East Coast and playing East Coast
Getting that
teams.
experience? Yeah.
Yeah, and like seeing how you stack up against East Coast shooters
Yeah.
because, if you're making saves in, Colorado, California, and you're the best goalie there, but you're going out to the East Coast every weekend and you're not making those saves, there's a major disparity between that.
Right. Yeah. I like that. Yeah. And if you don't have like access to good shooters, you could always go a level up. I mean, I know most like high schools, there's probably like a college in the area, even if it's a club team, and where you can find like some college level shooters. And I wouldn't be surprised if you hit them up on Instagram, DM them, and like say, hey, can you shoot on me for
Yeah,
an hour or two on Saturday? I wouldn't be surprised if you could find somebody who would be
no,
down.
and it's, worth a try.
Oh,
I mean,
totally.
it can't hurt to try.
Oh
So,
yeah. I mean, the they could just ignore you or say no, and you're in the same spot. So
Yeah, exactly.
there you go.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of like I was trying to recruit these pro defensemen to do this event, and like all my contacts are goalies, right? Like all my contacts are goalies, and like so I know very little defensemen, and so
Yeah.
I was getting this feeling of like, well, man, you know what? And I just decided I'm just going to DM every single pro defenseman out there, and like a lot of them didn't reply, a lot of them didn't see it, but half wrote me back. So
Yeah.
there you go. Lacrosse community is
Never
awesome.
do it till you try.
Exactly. Cool. Talk to me about then why Carolina?
I I've always been in love with Carolina. I don't know what it was, but even when I was playing boys lacrosse, I think it was like the color, the baby blue. Um, I just wanted to wear the baby blue. But even when I was
Awesome
playing,
reason.
I know. I mean, you can't go wrong. But even when I was playing boys lacrosse, I was like, I'm gonna go play for their men's program. And then I switched over to women's lacrosse, and I was like, I'm gonna go play for their women's program. And so it was kind of always my dream, even coming through recruiting. And then got to September 1st, they gave me a call. I took some visits, some other places, but I took a visit to Carolina, and I really was just like, man, like, how can you say no? It's Carolina. It's just incredible here. So
You got to see that baby blue in person, and you're like, this is it. This
you can't go
it,
back
it's as
to see it.
beautiful as I thought it was.
Yeah,
Love it.
absolutely.
Yeah, those white goals and the baby blue nets, those
Yeah,
are
it's pretty
pretty
sweet.
pretty awesome thing,
Yeah.
huh? Love it. Did you watch a goalie by the name of Taylor Moreno at all?
You know, let me think. Yeah, I watched a lot of Taylor Moreno.
Yeah.
It's just incredible, and I was blessed that I got to interact with her a lot. Obviously, I didn't end up playing with her because she's a
Right.
bit older than me, but I get to see her around, and we'll text sometimes and chat. Um, and so she's been like a really cool mentor for me.
Awesome. What would is what is there any lessons that like stick out? There's something like, oh, Taylor kind of taught me this.
I think coming into freshman year, I was very disoriented because I had to do a lot of work on, my game in order to be college ready. I had this raw talent coming out of high school, and it really needed to be like refined. Um, and it kind of freaked me out because no one had really ever told me before, like, what you're doing is wrong.
Mm,
Because I never really had a goalie coach.
right. Right.
And Phil came in and he was like, "We got some work to do, sister." Uh, and so I was like a little bit freaked out, and I reached out to Taylor and I was like, "Hey, like, is there any like advice that you can offer me?" And she just was like, "Look, like Phil has your best intention in mind. He just wants to get you ready. So when he tells you like you should change something, it's not like personal. It's just, here's how I think your game would be better."
Hmm.
And she was just like, you gotta go with the flow and just relax. And I think hearing that from her as a person who had an incredible career at Carolina, it was just like, well, if she's saying that to me, I should just relax because, I trust her a lot.
Right.
And
Right.
yeah,
Awesome. What does it mean specifically to refine your game?
coming in freshman year, I think it's just really breaking down your game to its simplest form and picking apart little pieces of it. And then once you work on those little pieces individually, they all start to come together and you form like this new improved style.
Hmm.
Like I don't play the same style that I did in high school. And that's because, we went through all of these parts of my game that were like, I don't want to say like holes in my game, but like areas of improvement that I could definitely work on.
Mm.
And by the end of my freshman year, it was like I was this whole new goalie because I took all of these little pieces and improved them throughout the season.
Nice. Nice. Love it. Last year, your guys' starter was Alicia Nicholas, right?
Yeah,
Who I had on the podcast, and she participated in this goalie summit event that I did couple goalie summits ago and got to know her.
yeah,
Talk to me about playing with her and kind of some things that you learned from her.
yeah. No, she's awesome. She's for me really is always just like a positive force. She's always got a smile on her face, and she always asks me how my day is. And so I think, being in a goalie room, there's five of us now. It's really important to find that support system within your unit. And she's been like a huge part of like being a support system for me, like my first year starting.
Hmm.
Um, and I think what I've learned from her is just perseverance through like tough times. I mean, she unfortunately got diagnosed with thyroid cancer
Right.
la- last year, and there wasn't a day where she didn't have a smile on her face, and she wasn't showing up to practice, um, giving her, whatever she had in the tank.
Yeah.
So I think when I think about perseverance, it's really like, Alicia had cancer and she showed up every day.
Right.
So
Yeah. And she beat it, right?
yeah,
Last I heard, yeah, awesome. Go
yeah,
Alicia.
she
Go
did.
Alicia. Yeah, she's awesome.
Yeah,
Um, Very cool. Well, is it so you're like a red shirt freshman, right? So you red shirted last year.
yeah.
Um, and then this is the first year, sort of playing, but also the first year getting that start. Did you kind of feel some additional sort of pressure as a freshman or no, you're ready?
I think with the redshirt freshman year,
Yeah.
I got to get my feet under me and kind of, I'd been in college, so I wasn't like taking in like new classes, new people,
Hmm.
all of these different
Right.
things. Like I was used to being on campus, but there's still, that aspect of like, this is my first time starting. Like, there is those nerves.
Right.
So that's something that, I've kind of had to start dealing with. But yeah, I think with my redshirt freshman year, I think I did have that benefit of like I've got my feet under me a little bit
Makes
more.
sense. Yeah, makes sense. But yeah, to your point, there is like certain experiences that you only get, like getting scored on three times in a row in front of all these thousands of fans that like you're only gonna get like in the moment, and you got to learn how to deal with that. But once you did, you're now prepared to do that in the future. So um, well, this is great. We're recording this mid-season, so thank you for taking the time to do it. And you guys are just coming off a big win, 1 versus 2 matchup against Boston College, and you guys pulled the Carolina, pulled it out. So congratulations on that.
Thank you so
And
much.
how would you kind of sum up the season so far?
I think it's kind of been a revenge tour for
Yeah,
us.
yeah.
Last year, we kind of suffered a lot of injuries. I think eight of our starters had season-ending injuries, and
Wow.
people had a lot to say about Carolina, and everyone thought we were down and out. But we remembered it. We remembered how people celebrated like it was the national championship when they beat us. We remember that. So
Mhm.
we're just coming back and we're cashing some receipts, and we're ready to keep going. So
I love it. Well, we're 12 games in, and 12 teams have received those receipts, right? Let's keep it going. Keep it going. Is
absolutely.
there a game that stands out where you're like, wow, I was really locked in that particular game?
I think Clemson was one where I just was like really like, wow, like I am so immersed in the game. Um, I just felt like I was really seeing the ball and I just felt calm. And I just felt like I was just relaxed out there.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's a good way to describe it. Like really immersed in the game, right? Because a lot of times you're not. You start thinking in your head, you're like, oh, who's that over there in the sidelines? And just you sort of lost your focus.
Yeah.
Or like, oh man, my save percentage is this, or I should have had that. And like you kind of
Yeah.
said, how the thoughts spiral, but being like really immersed in the game, you don't think about any of that. It's like just the
Yeah.
game's going on and you're just at the end, maybe you can take time to like, oh, did I play good? I don't even know because I was so in it,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely. I'll come off the games and I'm like, I don't even remember the saves that I made.
yeah. What do you think you did to get in that state? Something special, or was it just, I don't know.
Um, the week before, I had a rough game against UVA, and it was really my first rough game ever with starting. And I just like sat down and I was like, why was it a rough game? And it just came down to the fact I was really tight. I wasn't, relaxed or seeing the ball, and I wasn't present. I wasn't, in the game in that moment seeing the head of the stick. I was like somewhere else. I wasn't where my feet were.
Hmm.
And so going into that Clemson game, I just was really like, take a chill pill, relax, go into the game, have some fun, and just be present.
It worked.
Yeah.
All right, start
Funny
taking
how
the what's that?
I said, funny how that works.
Funny how that works. Yeah. Cool. Load up on those chill pills.
Yeah, exactly.
Um, do you guys work with a sports psychologist and at Carolina?
We do.
You
Her
do.
name is Dr. Jenny Shannon.
Awesome.
So,
Any lessons that she's taught you that you want to share with us?
um, what we work on a lot, we work as like a team, and what we do is we work to understand each other. I think that, forming that connectivity, you have to understand who your teammates are, what they need, what they don't need, and like how to interact with them. So we've worked a lot on like, like criticism, like working on, I have Molly over here and Chloe over here. Each of them respond differently to different types of criticism. And so knowing that and knowing who those people are is really helpful on the field because you can make those adjustments by knowing who they are.
Hmm, that's cool. That's really interesting. Yeah. So one like if maybe if you like yell at her really loud, like kind of just shuts down and like doesn't listen to that, and so you kind of have to what? How do I do it? I don't know.
You like Molly is like, oh, like you say the criticism but in like a lighter tone, and then you're like, oh, but you're doing so well on blah blah blah.
Ah,
Adding like that encouragement piece as
yeah,
well.
yeah. Sandwich it together. I that now now that comes back.
Right.
Someone told me that sort of like sandwich the criticism with like a compliment.
Yeah.
Um, not even calling it a criticism, a point of feedback, and then another compliment. So
Yeah.
okay, all right, cool. That's great. Yeah. So now you feel like your team is sort of, I guess, bonded in a way and
Yeah.
um, kind of understands each other pretty well. And that's very important for building trust, right? I mean, you're going to
Absolutely.
play much better when you got that trust and
Yeah.
know each other. So, all right,
For
cool.
sure.
Um, awesome. Love it. Any other lessons or is that kind of the main one?
Um, a lot of our lessons are like based out of that, and like understanding personality and
What do they
yeah.
say about you? Like, do you like criticism or no?
I'm the type of person who likes criticism very straight up. Like I don't want the cushion. Just tell it to me straight, get it over with, so I
Yeah.
can like, move on,
Yeah.
go implement it. So I'm the
Love
type
it.
of person that doesn't want to beat around the bush.
Love it. Awesome. What have you ever gone through like a slump in your career? And how'd you get over that?
Yeah, my this summer of my senior year going into college, I just felt like I forgot how to play lacrosse, and it was so weird. I just was like, "What is going on?" And it was tough, but it was I think the idea that confidence is controllable that really got me out of it.
Yeah.
Um, because back then, the reason that I think I was going through a slump was because I felt so much pressure that I had never felt before. Um, I like made up this pressure in my head, I'm going to Carolina. Um, People expect me to play well every time I go out on the field. Um, and that it kind of killed me at the end of the day. Um, and so what kind of got me out of it was like the expectations that I'm putting on myself again are put on by myself. People, you can't like think about what people are thinking about you because you can't predict that.
Right.
Um, and so everything is your own thoughts, and the thoughts inside your head aren't the truth. They're just thoughts. And so if you give them the power to become the truth, they will become the truth.
Right.
But if they're just thoughts, you can brush it off and, go on, like I said earlier, like evidence based. Um, so that control of my thoughts and control of my confidence was really what got me out of that.
Beauty. Yeah. Yeah, the stories that you tell yourself are like very important, right? And if you're filling your mind with those negative thoughts, then like you're gonna start believing it and start behaving different and thinking different and acting different, as opposed to get rid of those negative thoughts and fill them with positive ones, and then you start playing a lot better.
Exactly.
Yeah. Cool. I was gonna ask about the five goalie thing. That seems like a lot of goalies. How do you guys make sure that you're all getting like really good reps?
Yeah. It was definitely something we had to figure out in the fall. It was like, oh my gosh, there are five of us. This is insane.
Right, right, right. Yeah.
But once you like start getting used to it and start playing, um, it's like you kind of figure out what works and what doesn't. Like rep wise, how many reps is everyone doing?
Right.
And then now that we've gone into season, we split like offense goes down to one side of the field, defense goes to one side of the field, and me and Lexi will go with the defense, and then Alicia, Stella, and LC will go with the offense. So, it kind of splits us up so that we get certain reps, amounts of reps, I guess.
So you figured it out. You figured it out.
Yeah.
Awesome. I think in doing research for this, I think I read that you were an openly gay athlete. I wanted to ask you some questions about that, if that's true.
Yeah,
Are
it
you
is.
are you okay with that?
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, yeah. Um, yeah, I mean, just kind of talk to me about that experience of coming out, because I know, I mean, it's really interesting that a lot, it seems like more than above average, like a lot of lacrosse goalies have this story. And I don't know why that is, but you look at some of like a lot of the great female goalies, and a lot of them have this story. But I mean, talk to me about sort of your process of kind of telling the team and how that affected you. Um, yeah, I'd love to hear that.
I've kind of always been like authentically myself. Um, I haven't really ever had to like come out to anyone.
Hmm.
Um, I think the way that I dress and the way that I present myself kind of, you know, is outwardly gives off, a signal. But yeah, I think my team at Carolina has been nothing but open and supportive of me. And, I haven't felt any time that I'm unwelcome here at Carolina.
That's
So,
great. Yeah, that's great. Have other goalies kind of reached out to you and kind of asked for your advice being a gay athlete or no?
I don't think so.
All right. Well, this is an open invitation. I'm sure you're willing to answer and help them through that.
Yeah, for sure.
Um, all right, cool. Yeah, we could leave it there. Yeah, I don't know. I like to talk about lacrosse more than that, but I was just curious.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Um, Very cool. Talk to me then about your stick setup. Are you kind of a big gear person or kind of not so much?
I I like I'm like a creature of habit where it's like I like to have certain things strung in a certain way with a certain stick head, certain shaft. My brother is the one who's the gear junkie. I
Hmm.
swear, our entire basement at home is filled with all these different models of field sticks, goalie sticks, women's sticks. Like he just like collects them. But right now my setup is a Eclipse 3 with a side tie shaft XTX with impact ECD mesh. And then my brother strings all of my sticks.
Nice.
So and I'm very particular about that. I like him having them strung. So
Yeah, and looking at the pictures, you got the 2U setup,
yeah.
right? Yeah. What? How come you go with that?
I've been using that for like as long as I can remember. My brother was like, "Can I have your stick and can I string it? Can I like experiment with it?" Probably like in like eighth grade, and I was like, "I don't care, like sure." And so he did it, and I ended up really liking it, and so I've really like had it ever since.
Love it. And it looks like you just have regular player gloves, yeah? Like
Yeah,
not the
I don't
thumb
like I
enhanced goalie gloves.
no, I don't like the big thumb because I feel like I can't move my thumb very much in the goalie gloves. But I've never been hit on the thumb or had any problems with my thumb, knock on wood.
Knock on
Um,
wood. I'm knocking
so,
on wood for you over here.
but I've been like comfortable playing with regular player gloves.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay. Um, and yeah, you can move a lot better in them. I've seen that. But no, like you don't wear any like extra thumb stuff underneath there.
No, the gloves that I wear right now kind of have a carbon fiber protection on them
Uh-huh.
as they are, so that's been like kind of that extra layer, but no, I haven't put anything on myself.
Yeah. And then you got the 303 on the throat guard tape for
Yeah.
where you grew up.
Yep.
Awesome. Anything on this side? The picture I'm looking at doesn't have anything there.
No, not yet. I'm
Okay.
kind of like thinking about, what I want to put there.
It's an
So I've got to,
open canvas.
yeah, I need to formulate it.
All right.
I'm not sure.
Cool. And then how come you go with number 88?
I used to be when I was playing like Pee Wee lacrosse, I was 99 because of Paul Rabel. And then my dad is a huge NASCAR fan, and Dale Earnhardt Jr. is his number is
88.
88 on his
Yeah.
car.
Yeah.
Um, and so I just remember him talking about 88, and I think it was like unconscious of like, oh wait, this is like such a sick number. So when I got into like middle school, when I started playing girls, I started playing with 88.
Yeah. I like the double number. If I was number 30 in college, but if I could go back and do it again, I'd go double. I'd go with some sort of double number system.
Me too.
Love it. Betty, thank you so much for taking the time and kind of sharing your goalie knowledge. If you had to leave the goalies out there with the final piece of advice, what would that be?
Um, Always remember to have fun.
Yeah.
It's at the end of the day, it's a game. And coming into college, I think, I'm coming to the end of it may be the end of my playing career. It's coming up on me fast. And one thing I wish that I went back and did was really just enjoy every moment that I was on the field. So yeah, just have fun.
Go Heels.
Yep, go Heels.